What is up, guys? This is Maxwell Media Inc. I'm your host, Sir Maxwell, and today we are going to be talking about Rwby Before the Dawn. So this book is a very, very interesting book. I read Rwby After the Fall. I read that a couple of weeks ago to get ready for Before the Dawn, and now that Before the Dawn is here, I read it all in one day. But I wanted to have some time to marinate on it. I wanted to give y'all some time to read the book, and I just wanted to have some more time. I have not watched any reviews of Before the Dawn that are like spoilery or analysis-y because I wanted to have my own thoughts when I go into it. I don't want to like linger. I have anybody else's commentary lingering in my head. But without further ado, let's get into this book. So basically, what's going on with this book is that at the end of After the Fall, we get Team Sun coming in and they help out Team Coffee. And Team Coffee is not really happy because they were the big men on campus. They were the big daddies on campus, and now that Team Sun is in, now Team Sun is here, and they're kind of they're messing up their street cred. So Coco is not. Coco in particular, she's not very happy about it. And of course, they're still trying to track down the crown, and see what's going on with Bertolac and Carmine. They still that's still what they're doing. They're still doing that gig. They're still making that tea, and some kind of fucking it up. And Team Sun, they're not really a good unit. They're not really together. They're not really. They're not really doing teamwork. Their Team Sun is serving us like we don't want to be here. We really don't want to be here. We definitely don't want to be here. And we don't want to be here together. And they need to be serving us. We're all in this together. Like they need to be serving us that vibe. But they're serving us a very like we're arguing, we're hot, but we're arguing, but it's cute, but it's not, but we're angry, maybe it's rage, maybe it's gas, maybe it's Maybelline, so that's the thing that's going on. So I'm gonna go in the story. I'm gonna kind of break this up into like the different teams, what's going on with Team Coffee, what's going on with Team Sun, and then I'll get into like the crown overall. But first, let's start with Team Sun. So basically, I don't know, a lot of people thought this was gonna be a Team Sun book, but this is really like Coffee and Sun book, but mostly Coffee and like Sun Wukong, rather than like Coffee and then Team Sun. You know what I mean? Because we get character moments where like, everybody pretty much gets to do things except for Team Sun. Neptune, he don't really get to do nothing. Like we learned his semblance and we learned his little backstory about why he doesn't like water. But like that's it. We get nothing else. He don't do nothing. He does nothing. Literally he does nothing. Sage, all he has Sage, all that Sage does is literally nothing. Sage fans got starved. I think he spoke like 3 times at the most. Like I think he legit was out here speaking 2 times at the most in the book. I can count it on my hands how many times he spoke, but I would lose my mind because it would take me hours trying to like go through the audiobook trying to find where he spoke. It's ridiculous. And Scarlet, all Scarlet did was sit there and be mad at Sun. Like he was mad at Sun, and people were like, "Oh my God, like we really get to like know more about Scarlet." We know nothing about Scarlet. We don't know his semblance. We don't know his backstory. We don't know where he came from. We don't know why he wants to be a huntsman. Like we don't really know much about Scarlet David at all. Like nothing. We didn't even get any gay vibes. We didn't get no gay moments. We didn't get nothing. You know what I mean? Because with Coco, it's very much the energy of like, okay, so I'm Coco, and so and so's hot, and then so and so's hot. You know what I mean? Or the book will be like, oh, Coco didn't know if she wanted to kiss her or kill her. You know what I mean? Like we just get these little nods so that we know, like, hey, Coco is this little LGBT figure. Coco, is XYZ, and it's not really in your face, and it's kind of subtle and shit. With Sage, we get none of that. None of that. We get more gay vibes from Neptune than we get from Scarlet, and it's really disappointing. I'm really disappointed in that. And personally, this really did not have to be a Team Sun and Coffee book. It really could have been a Team Sun book, because if you think about it, like, they could have done what they did with Team Rwby in Volume 6. They could have had a whole journey of them getting to fucking they could have done the whole journey of them getting to Vacuo, because that, like, y'all went from Mistral, from Haven to Vacuo. That's a big journey, bruh. That's a big journey, bruh. So it's like, why didn't we see that? I don't know. I guess they just really wanted to get into the whole the crown stuff, and that's fine. And you know, we really could have done a Sun book, but Sun, I don't know. My point is that Team Sun got really shafted. So I don't know. Let's get into what's going on with Team Sun. Team Sun, they're very disgruntled. Because long story short, Sun left them to go help Blake, and they don't really know. You know what I mean? Like, they were just like, "Oh, you left us once again," because remember, he left them during the Vital Festival too. Again. So it's like, you keep running, keep ditching your team. How can you form a strong teamship? How are you going to be a leader if you're not there to lead your team? But if you're not there to lead your team, then what are you doing, bro? Like, what are you doing? And that's not to discount what he did for Blake. I definitely don't. I don't regret that whole arc. I'm glad that arc happened. I'm glad he was there. I'm glad he helped Blake. But now that I think about it, it would have been cute if Team Sun would have tagged along, or like if Team Sun would have followed him in Volume 4, and we would have had the stuff that was going on with Blake and the stuff that was going on with Sun at the same time. So Sun was like, "Hi, you left your team, you're doing XYZ," and then Blake could have been like, "Okay, well, bitch, you're doing the same thing." So that parallel could still be there. And a lot of people are upset because they're like, "Okay, well, you tried to drag Blake, but homeboy, you're doing the same thing." And, you know, yes, he was projecting. Like, yes, he was definitely like, "Okay, I'm, you know, telling Blake off, but like, I'm projecting because I'm not there for my own fucking team." You know what I mean? And I don't know. I get it, because it's like, okay, you spit this moral at our favorite cat girl, but you didn't learn the moral yourself. Like, what's going on? Like, what's not clicking? So I definitely feel like it would have been a better idea if they would have done this, like, while they were doing it with Blake, like during Volume 4. But I feel like what happened is they set up Sun as this figure that was very much like, "I'm the perfect monkey boy, and I'm hot, and I'm cool, and I can fight, and I don't really have any problems. I'm just here to help Blake with her problems, and I'm perfect." You know what I mean? Because, you know, he was right. He was pretty much right on the head about everything in Volume 4. He was right about her running away. He was right about her, you know, leaving her team. He was right about her pushing people away. He was right about the White Fang. He was right about the White Fang. So it's like, you know, he was set up as this kind of like perfect person a little bit. And, you know, outside of people saying he was a stalker, he was set up as like this perfect person. You know what I mean? Because it was just presented as him purely earnestly helping Blake. You know, Blake described him as earnest. And yes, he is earnest. He is still a good person. But good people can fuck up. And I definitely feel like now, instead of it being this purely moralistic, I'm going to help my friend, it was like, okay, I'm going to help my friend. But like, I'm also like low-key maybe subconsciously trying to get the fuck away from my team. So I don't want to deal with their bullshit. I'd rather help someone who I don't really know with their bullshit than helping, you know, than deal with my own bullshit with my own team. Do you know what I mean? So I definitely think that was a mistake, and it would have been really interesting if we would have gotten Team Sun involved, because Team Sun involved with Blake's plot. Because a lot of people feel like Team Coffee should have been involved with, you know, Yang stuff at Beacon, and, you know, going and helping in Haven and shit. After reading, like, after the Fall Before the Dawn, I definitely did not think that was the case. Like, going to Vacuo and reading these books, like, they're very good. I enjoy these books. So I'm glad that Team Coffee went to Vacuo and they have that story, and that was good. But definitely Team Sun, like, we still could have gotten this book. We still could have gotten this book with them going to, you know, Menagerie with Blake and doing with the White Fang shit. We definitely could have done that. And it could have been really entertaining with the whole Battle of the Belladonnas, because now you have Team Sun in on it, and you can take people like Brother Yuma, and you know the Albane brothers, and you know Sister Trifa, and you know and if you don't know who I'm talking about those the random White Fang grunts, and I just like remember their names. You know what I mean? So it's like them. Like, we could have had a really interesting battle. But Volume 5 as a whole, this is a big disappointment, but we're not here to talk about Volume 5. Yeah, I don't know, but my point is, with Sun, a lot of people are upset because they're like, Sun is a jerk in this book. Sun is a jerk in this book. I'm here to tell you, yes, Sun Wukong is a jerk. Sun Wukong is a jerk. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, Sun Wukong is a jerk in this book. And that's not a bad thing. Characters based on the circumstances aren't always perfect. And characters are supposed to be people, and people aren't perfect. People make mistakes. I consider myself a very good person, but I fuck up on a daily. I fuck up all the time. I've made horrible mistakes. I make plenty of mistakes, and I'm going to continue to make them. You know what I mean? I'm going to continue to make mistakes. We're all going to continue to make mistakes. So to sit here and act like, oh my God, Sun is such a good person, I can't be a Sun stan anymore because he was a jerk, and oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's so disingenuous to me, and it's so disingenuous to me because it's like, what are you here for? And I mean, you know what I mean? Because it's like, we were mad, and when I say we, I mean like the fandom is kind of broken up into parts. The Rwby fandom was kind of broken up into parts, and you know, a big part of like the Sun fan base, and you know, the Black Sun fan base is kind of, you know, they tend to be the same people who are like, Adam should have gotten justice, and you know, Blake was bad because you know, they painted Adam as this bad guy, and they painted Adam as like this guy who, you know, was abusive and XYZ, and you know, there's moral shades of gray and blah blah blah. You know, from what I've observed, those people tend to be the same people who are like, we like Sun, and Sun did nothing wrong in Volume 4, and oh my God, he's a perfect boy, and XYZ, blah 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 blah. Like, those people tend to kind of like mesh and be like the same people. So that's what I mean when I say, so like when it's Adam, okay, why can't we have moral ambiguity? Why can't we have multiple people doing something? Cool. What I'm trying to say is like, why can't we have people who are moral shades of gray, who are good people, but they do bad things? You know what I mean? Like, with Adam, it's that, but when Sun does it, now it's like, oh, Sun is bad. I can't support Sun. Sun is a douche, and it's like, it's this weird. I don't know. The Rwby fandom, like a section of the Rwby fandom, like has a real hard time with moral and ambiguous characters, and I feel like it's due to their own personal biases. Excuse me, I'm gonna cough, and it's gonna sound bad. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I got tested for coronavirus. I'm negative. I don't have coronavirus, so great. I don't know, I have other allergy problems. But, they want these moral, and you know, they want these morally, you know, ambiguous characters, but they want it on their dime, and they want it when it benefits their narrative and what they want for the story, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Because I wanted Adam to be a morally great character, and I wanted Adam to have layers, and I wanted Adam to have all this shit with his character that never got happen. But like, I also enjoy it, and I see it, and I give allowances with other characters. You know what I mean? Because, in my opinion, I'm fair all across the board. You know what I mean? Like, if Sun fucks up, I'm gonna drag him. If Blake fucked up, I dragged her. I dragged her when she fucked up. So Sun's fucking up, I'm gonna drag him. Point blank, period. Rwby fucked up, I dragged her. Fucking Volume 7, I was like, why you lying Ironwood? What you doing, sis? Ironwood fucked up, I dragged Ironwood. Like, Ironwood, why you leaving thousands of people to die? You know what I mean? So you have to be fair across the board. And you also, if you're going to give allowances to one character, you have to do it for the other character. So it's like, and you know what I mean? And it's also, like I said, with like, you're not a real Sun stan if you don't want him to grow. But like I said, like, they don't want Sun to grow because they want Sun to be this like perfect person, because it really benefited their narrative of like, oh, Sun is such a perfect person. Wow, Blake, you're a really horrible person for being bad to Sun. And Blake was bad for being bad to Sun, but not because Sun was this perfect little snowflake, but it was because, you know, of her own behavior and how she was treating him in that aspect. You know what I mean? So, I don't know, basically this rant, if you can make any sense from this rant, it's just like, Sun has an arc in this book. Sun goes from not understanding like why the Beacon Brigade or why people want to talk about their feelings, because like a lot of people don't understand like, oh, why would Sun, why did Sun need to be there for them at Haven? Like why so they can sit down and do nothing like what they were doing? You know what I mean? Like Sun needed to be active. You know what I mean? Like why did they need him? And it's like the same fucking reason that we yelled at Blake and dragged Blake for leaving her team, for leaving Yang, because they fucking needed her, and Team Sun fucking needed him. Point blank. Period. Like they weren't gonna it wasn't like some weird circle where they were just gonna jerk each other off. Like no, like they needed support from their friend, from their leader. They needed some support. They needed some healing. They needed something. You know what I mean? Like they needed that, and he was not there for them, and they have every right to be pissed. You know what I mean? So Sun just has a hard time coming to terms with that, and a big theme in this book is home, and like where you belong. Like the vacuums, what the vacuums think of as home, what the Beacon people from who thought that Beacon think is home, what Sun thinks is home. And Sun is very avoidant. Sun is the kind of bitch who's like, I'm gonna walk this old lady home, but I'm gonna walk her home not just because I want to see this old lady get home, but I'm gonna walk her home because I don't want to deal with like my mom telling me to clean my room at home. You know what I mean? Like Sun is that kind of bitch. Sun will do these good deeds, but he'll do them to distract from other things that are going on in his life. So Sun does that a lot, you know what I mean? So instead of sitting down and dealing with this shit with his team in this book, he was like, I'm gonna help you with the crown, you know what I mean? Like, oh, Coco, can I help? And I genuinely think he wanted to help, but I also think a part of him was like, I don't want to deal with this shit. Like, let's go on a mission and patch it up, you know what I mean? Like, let's just do, and he, like, through the entire book, he was just like, I don't understand. And, you look at him and you're like, wow, how can you not understand? And I can see that, but also like Sun, he's a little slow. Sun doesn't understand the importance of talking about your feelings and your mental health, and like, no, honey, no, like we need to. Mental health is so important, and what they all went through, like it's not about fucking being in the past, because Sun's whole thing is Sun thinks like, Sun has a line in the book where he was like, you're just using Vacuo to, get stronger until you can go back to save your real home Beacon. Oh, sorry. And it's like, sis, it's not like that. That's not what's happening. Like that is not the tea. That's not what's going on. It's not that they're using Vacuo to get stronger just so they can go home and say Beacon, but it's so that they can move forward with their lives. Like literally, Vacuo was them moving on and moving forward to achieve their destiny. You know what I mean? And Velvet has this very, 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 very good speech about home. If I can find it in my notes. Excuse me for a minute while I find this in my notes. Yeah, I don't know. Ooh, no, yeah, Sun, blah, 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 blah. Scarlet is hot. Blah, blah, blah. Sun's abs, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this is where Scarlet goes off. Scarlet is like, you didn't Scarlet's like you didn't forget about us, like you didn't leave us to go chase after someone you barely knew who didn't even want your help, like, and then he said, you didn't even stay in Vacuo, like you chose Haven, but you're out here trying to lecture us about Vacuo. And then Scarlet flipped his bangs, which is like really hot. And then he was like, you wouldn't know anything about Lost Sun. You never stay in one place long enough to learn. So after all that, Sun just leaves instead of like sitting there and talking about it, he was just like, I'm gonna leave and I'm just gonna, go do my thing. And then I'm trying to find this part about the Beacon Brigade. Blah blah blah. I'm so sorry, guys. Like, I'm really out here trying to find where Velvet Red Sun for Filth. Velvet Red Sun for Filth. I think I found it. Yeah, because they were talking about how, I'm gonna read the part where Scarlet also goes the fuck off again. Yeah. Scarlet is like, I guess it's not hard to move on when you're always moving, like just like how you're moving on right now, and like no, yeah, he was like, just exactly how are you moving on to be moving on from us? Be honest. Well, and be honest while you're at it. Maybe you can explain why. And he was like, well, you're always leaving us and going solo, and we were never sure why. And Sage was like, were we not good enough for you? And Sun was like, nah, like, I didn't want you to think that, but like, how could you not know? And then they were like, our team was literally named after you, but you were never a part of it. And then Sun is like, it's just a name. And then Velvet reads him for Filth and says, names aren't important. She says names are important, and they're part of our identity, and it's upsetting when they're taken away without warning. And then they're like, Beacon is our clan name. It's a symbol that represents their common bond, and it's what brought them to Vacuo. Remembering Beacon motivates them so they can be ready the next time that, Salem attacks. And, after that, Sun admits that, he was wrong for, seeing it that way. And, I don't know, because Sun is also very held up on what he thinks Vacuo is. And Sun knows what Vacuo is, but at the same time, like, Sun, he doesn't know what it's become. You know what I mean? He hasn't been there in a while. So he very much comes from this place of like, okay, I've been here before and I know what's going on, but also at the same time, like, I don't really know the culture, because a lot of the Vacuums are kind of cold towards the Beacon people, because they just feel like, oh, you're an outsider, blah 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 blah. It's kind of like that's his whole deal situation. But throughout the book, we kind of see that, like, if you fight for Vacuo, I think that's the moral of the story. Like, if you fight for Vacuo and you fight hard and you protect it, then you're a Vacuan and you belong there. That's pretty much the moral of all of this. And I'm kind of jumping where I was talking about Sun and then I was talking about home and shit. But like, no, I don't know. That's just kind of like, it breeds into Sun's arc as growing and learning how to step up as a leader. Because by the end of all this shit, he does step up, and he does vow to stay, and he does vow to never leave them again. So that's good. I don't know. I'm gonna move on to talking about Neptune a little bit. Neptune was a delight in this book. Neptune was very funny. He was very witty. He was very cool. He was the butt of a lot of jokes. We got to know why he's afraid of water, because his semblance allows him to push and pull water away from him and towards him. And When he discovered his semblance, it was very scary because like water was all around him, and like he couldn't breathe, and then he almost killed his brother, and it's a lot. He used to live in Argus, which is like a coast city, like right next to the coast. You know what I mean? So like, kind of scary. So then they moved more inland, and they moved to to Mistral. But yeah, I don't know. That's why Neptune is scared of water. They also admit that he's always by Sun's side, that he's always around Sun, and he's always like having his back no matter what. Like Neptune was not really salty, and if this would, and I get the feeling if none of the issues with Sun had been addressed, Neptune would still be doing nothing about it. Like Neptune would never say anything about it. And we kind of get a hint that like maybe Neptune has a little bit of a crush on Sun because Skylar was like, oh yeah, of course she would always have his back, blah 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 blah. I don't know. That's pretty much all there is with Neptune. Again, really disappointing. A lot of people are mad because his fear of water was used against him in this book. And yeah, that's true. That was fucked up. And they admit it and they apologize. And I don't understand why the fan was so fucking mad about it. Like, I don't understand. I just feel like a lot of people in the fandom are like, if they want to find something that's wrong with any character to say, wow, you're a fucked up character, like, wow, you're really fucked up and it's really bad, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, again, characters are not perfect. Characters make mistakes. And I don't understand why you guys don't understand this concept. Like, but like when it's a villain and it's your favorite fucking villain and they're doing bad shit, you want to go, oh, but can't we have morally great characters? Can't we have characters that fuck up? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just think it's all disingenuous bullshit. But let's moving on. So Neptune, we really got starved of Neptune, Sage, and Scarlet. You know what I mean? Like Scarlet again, he was mad at Sun. He was basically the voice of. I don't know. I feel like if Scarlet wasn't there, then Team Sun really wouldn't have a problem. And Sage said nothing, and you know what I mean. So I don't know. It's really weird that like people of color in this franchise get shafted a lot. Like our four mains are white people. You know what I mean? Team Rwby white people. Most people who get like the shine are like the white, and it's kind of weird. Like wow, like can we have black characters? Can we have brown skin characters? Can we have dark skin characters like doing more? Like yes, in terms of Team Coffee, we have Fox and we have Liberty Yatsuhashi, but we need a little bit more, in my opinion. We need more people of color in the forefront in this show. And yes, we have Neptune, but Neptune was the butt of every joke, and he wasn't really given much, to do. And Sage like literally had 2 or 3 lines in this entire book, which I think is very disappointing. We do have Fox, and Fox has stuff to do, and Fox is cool, and Fox is funny, and Fox is everything, and Fox is a king, and I love him, and I will protect him with my life. Moving on from Team Sun and their shit, that was a clusterfuck, that was a mess. If you can understand me, like literally, like you are a god, like thank you so much if you can understand what I'm saying. Team Coffee is it's a much better unit than Team Sun. They started out not really trusting Team Sun a lot, and it was mostly Coco, Coco's team had to convince her to let them out because Sun is gonna stick his tail in it, and Sun is gonna get involved anyway and fuck up their shit. They're really trying to prove themselves at Vacuo. They're really trying to prove that like they are not just outsiders, that they really do give a fuck about Vacuo. And because a lot of their shit throughout this book is like navigating how the Vacuans view them and how the people from Shade treat them. Because a lot of people from Shade, they treat them like shit, and they treat them like, oh, you left your home. Because Vacuans, they've always fought for their home. So they kind of see the Beacon people as like, wow, like you really out here leaving your home to die. But like Velvet brings up, okay, bitch, but you were on the first airship out of Beacon, and they were like, well, because Beacon was a lost cause. But like, no, bitch, it wasn't your home, so you left. Velvet stayed, and she fought for her shit. She fought for her home until she couldn't fight anymore. So you know what I mean? So throughout the book, we see them go from seeing Coffee as weak for leaving Beacon to strong for knowing when to pick up and go home and retreat. You know what I mean? Because sometimes strength is knowing when you've lost and when you need to move on. Yeah, but a lot of Team Coffee's focus is finding the crown and training, basically. And we get to see more of the world building in the lore of Vacuum and what, the other kingdoms did to them and what Atlas did to them, like taking all of their dust and shit. And we get to see how they view Vacuo mainly through Professor Rumple. Professor Rumple is a badass, and she's based on Rumpelstiltskin, and she has the ability in her weapon is like a spindle type thing, and she has the ability to turn inorganic material into gold. So that's pretty cool. I don't know if she could turn people into gold, but maybe, I don't know. And then she has this cool line where she's like, "If you can say my name, guess my name, because you're the Rumpelstiltskin thing." So that's pretty cool. She kind of goes hard on them, and she's kind of like an older, and in my head she's a little bit older, but she kind of reminds me of like a more older Professor Goodwitch. I don't know. Yeah, basically. She basically serves as Professor Theodore's right-hand woman. She's a history teacher. She's combat. She's good with combat. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I love Rumple. I love what they're doing. Yeah, but no. Back to Team Coffee. Their relationship. It doesn't they don't really go through a huge arc in terms of like the relationship, but we just see how much they care about each other, and it's really fun and it's really interesting to like see them kind of try to play off of each other, because in the first book we saw them have to get their shit together, and we saw their relationships, and it's really refreshing in this book to see just how far they've come and just the kings and queens that they really are. For Coco, we just see her like evolve as a leader. You know what I mean? She's always a good person. She's always standing up for her team. She's even standing up for others. And you know what I mean? Like she really is the perfect mentor for people like Sun and Rwby, who can be a little immature and who do need to have a little bit of focus. And it just shows that you can go from being not a perfect leader or not a great leader to like one of the best leaders around. You know what I mean? With Velvet, we get some Velvet backstory. Velvet is a bunny faunus. Her mom is a bunny faunus, and her dad is an Atlas scientist. Cal Atkinson has a video about who that father is. Blah 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 blah. But basically, it's a classic situation of dad not being around, dad caring more about his work than his wife and his child. That's pretty much the situation. But Velvet does have a really nice relationship with her dad. He helped build her weapon. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. And then he chose to be an Atlas while Velvet and her mom are in Vale. So that's pretty much the story with them. I do like it, and it was really interesting to see how Velvet interacts with her family life. I wonder if Velvet's parents know that she's okay. I also wonder if she has any siblings. I don't know. I feel like if she would have any siblings, they would be there with her while she was with her dad. So I think it's safe to assume that Velvet is an only child. But I wonder if Velvet's parents know that she is okay. I don't know. Maybe she probably told her mother that she was leaving before she left with her team to Vacuo. As for her father, who knows what he knows. Yatsuhashi and Fox don't have much to do in this. I mean, they do shit. They do shit. But in terms of an arc, they don't really have an arc. They're just kind of they're there and they're good, and we've already really established their characters. Yatsuhashi, again, he's kind of has that gentle giant thing going on. Doesn't really want to hurt anyone, especially not with his semblance, but he does end up having to use his semblance to save the day in the end, because his semblance was the only way to really to stop the mind control of what was going on. Fox is good. Fox is funny. Fox is just the funny hot friend who's scary and who can kick your ass, but you'd kind of love it. I don't know. Team Coffee, there's not really much to say with Team Coffee. They were really good. I really enjoyed them in this book. I don't really know what else to say with that and them. We get to meet Professor Theodore, and Professor Theodore, he seems like a really, really hammy guy. He seems very like, oh, I'm going. He feels like what he feels like what Leonardo Lionheart should have been. He feels like if Leonardo Lionheart was like an alpha external personality. You know what I mean? Like if Leo was an outgoing person, he would be Theodore. Like and I don't know. I imagine that he is like this really big burly man with this really fucking awesome ass mane, and he has these big Rwby fire dust gauntlets that he uses, and he's really just powerful. You know what I mean? He kind of seems like an Odin type figure. You know what I mean? But like in like the desert. So I don't know. Rumple was very cool, he's very fun, and he knows what's going on. He knows what's going on with Salem and shit. So he doesn't really see the Crown as a threat. He's like, okay, like the Crown is just some thugs. We are literally dealing with Salem and relics and maidens and gods and shit. You know what I mean? And Rumple knows, but he's just not telling them shit because I guess he just doesn't want to fuck shit up. He's waiting on Ozpin's permission. I don't know. We're not really gonna get that until Team Rwby gets back. And another thing in this book that I found really interesting but really annoying is how the rest of the world views what happened at Beacon. The rest of the world sees Beacon as kind of like, wow, this mysterious thing, like what's going on? Rumple knows, and Rumple knows that they need to prepare for it. That's why Rumple is kind of hard on the kids, and why I think Rumple knows about the maidens and the relics, but I feel like Rumple and Theodore, they don't really take the Crown seriously because they know what's coming and they know what's going on and they know what's a thing. And, even Coco and them, to an extent, know that, hey, whatever happened at Haven and at Beacon and what's going to happen to Alice is going to happen at Vacuo. So they need to prepare for that, and they see the Crown as this perfect opportunity, as a little bit of a practice for that, and they know that they can defend their home. Let's get into the villains and the Crown. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Crown is a very interesting organization. So basically, the Crown and the inspiration for the Crown is the story of Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. You know what I mean? So I'm forgetting their names, but they're Jack and Jill-esque. You can tell by their names that, I think it was Jacqueline and Jillian? I don't know. I'm gonna call them Jack and Jill, because they're basically Jack and Jill. So what happened with Jack and Jill is, Jack, and Jill has the ability to transfer aura. And basically what happened is she drained all of her mom's aura, and her mom died in childbirth with them. And, she constantly kind of drained her brother. So her brother was weak, couldn't really do shit, until the day that she was able to give him some aura. And, once he got some aura, he realized that he can mind control people. And he was the kind of person who was like, I'm weak for so long, I'm weak, I can't do this, I can't do that. And it was, power is intoxicating, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So, basically, his plan is to capture people with powerful semblances and amp them up with aura, and basically make an army to control Vacuo, because he believes that he is the heir to Vacuo's, original monarchy, which is very interesting with how the monarchies work, and when they were kings and queens and shit. And we kind of know that kind of shit from when Ozpin was around, and it'll be interesting to see what Ozpin's take on this would be. What was I saying? Yeah, no, so that was his plan, and they believe that they are, the heirs to Vacuo because of some special birthmark or whatever. And it's an interesting plot. It's a really interesting plot. The Crown, very interesting. And then, like I said with that last night, Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. Like, Jill was not mind controlled, but she just felt so, like, I just feel like she felt guilty as fuck for, doing this to her brother, so she just felt like she had to help him. And she was really, really, like, an enabler. You know what I mean? Like, she was the enabler. She could have stopped it, but, like, she low-key didn't. And, so that's really, so when Jack kind of fell into the darkness and he kind of, felt, he kind of went down the wrong path, she diverted from her path, because she could have been a really good huntress. but she kind of diverted from that path to kind of go down into the darkness with her brother. And she kind of, the only really reason why she kind of falls out of that is because at one point he's gonna kill her, and she was like, "Well, bitch, I don't want to die, so I'm gonna help you take my brother down." Um, I don't really have much to say about that plot except for like it's a good plot, like it was a good book, and it was a good mystery. Like I enjoyed the shit. Like I really enjoyed the shit. I really enjoyed the world building and the characters. The only person who really goes through a big arc is fucking Sun Wukong. Everyone else is kind of like, and the vacuums. I mean, the vacuums and like the other people from the Vital Festival that were there, they go through an arc of trust, learning to trust Team Coffee and learning how to work together, just learning how to basically come together and fucking unite. We do get this kind of weird subplot where they all kind of switch teams, and it was interesting to see how like they all worked in that. But of course, that was just the mind control. That was Rumple's mind control and shit, and that was weird. I don't know. I wrote down the teams and everything, but I really don't feel the need to go into that because it doesn't really matter that they were like, even when they were in different teams, like they still kind of all communicated and hung out with like who they were gonna hang out with. You know what I mean? Like Velvet, Fox, Yatsuhashi, and Coco all still fucked with each other and hung out. You know what I mean? Like they didn't stop just because of the team switch up. So I don't know. I don't really have many thoughts on the whole team switch thing, except for the fact that Phoenix Knight was right about them maybe switching teams. So that was very interesting. So basically, what are my final thoughts? The book was good. Team Sun got shafted. Sun Wukong, I love him. Sun Wukong's arc was my favorite part of the book. Along with just like the world building and the characters and the character interactions. I would definitely buy this book, but I'm gonna be honest, guys. I found out that the book was on Spotify, and all you have to do is go on Spotify and look up E.C. Myers, and Before the Dawn is there. So if you have a Spotify, you do not have to go and buy this book. You just don't. Yeah, I don't know. If you want to buy it and support Rooster Teeth and buy the book, then do it. I don't know. I mean, if it's on Spotify and you pay for your Spotify, I guess you're paying Rooster Teeth a little bit, but I don't know. I'm just saying, it's out there. You do not have to buy this book, but I would buy it. I don't know. If you want to read, like sit there and read the book, then buy it, obviously, because that's not on Spotify. But if you just want the audiobook, like, you can just listen to it. So that's the thing. Those are my jumbled thoughts. My thoughts were a jumbled mess. Like, sorry this review was not polished. I tried to record this like several times. I don't know. That was just my thoughts about it. I had the most to say about Sun and his arc because, like, it's Sun, but I don't know. Anyway, this has been Maxwell Media Inc. I'm your host, Maxwell. May the power protect you. Bye.